For the last 60 days, I let a single number decide how I trained for speed in the gym, and it completely changed how I think about explosive training. That number was bar speed. Everyone says moving the bar faster makes you faster, but instead of guessing, I decided to measure it. So for the last 2 months, I tracked the speed for most of my barbell sessions using eNote, and I changed my speed strength training based on that data. If the bar speed was high, I continued my set and tried to be a little better the next session if it felt right. If it dropped, I backed off. No ego, no grinding. Most of speed training lives in this weird space where we think we're explosive, but we never actually measure it. In this video, it looks like I am lifting this very fast, but is it actually fast? That's what I wanted to find out. Here's how I use the eNote. On Mondays, I did step ups, deadlifts, and soleus raises. And on my speed strength day, I did low bar back squats, barbell hip thrusts, and another version of soleus raises. I measured peak bar speed, though eNote has the capability of displaying peak power. But for this video, I'm going to present the data as peak bar speed. I logged most of my sessions. I didn't change any exercises. I didn't change the sprint work for the most part, other than slowly accumulating more volume. The only thing I did change was how much I trusted the bar speed. And we can start to look at some of the data that I have on my eNote app. So we'll take a look at the barbell back squat. I did the low bar variation. So this would be December 10th, 2025. I'll move straight into the working sets. So you can see here the range is in between 1.51 meters per second to 1.67 meters per second. This is the second set, a peak of 1.77, but pretty much generally the same. Here's the very first set. Again, very stable. And just for you guys to have a measurement of my fastest barbell back squat with just the bar, here it is. I can drive that bar over 2 meters per second. So, of course, that's most ideal if I can get 135 up to that fast in terms of peak velocity. But let's see if I can do that. So, here is the 24th December 2025. So, I think I increased the weight a little bit. So, again, very variable. I did get up to 2 meters per second, but that it was very, very short lived. And then that I had a very steady speed decline as I continued the workout. Here it is. So very much below. So you see if the weight is a little bit heavier, I do get some speed drop. Here is the first set. Okay, a little bit closer to my average. So that was good to see. That's why I went up in weight. Let's go to the 31st. Let's see for today what happened with my warm-ups. So you can see I can get above 2 meters per second again, and it hovered slowly. Here we go again, trying to redo the same weight as last week. So again, it wasn't hitting that 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 range, which I kind of had in my head. If I can stabilize, I think this looks like 115 in terms of pounds. If I can stabilize 115, that would be very, very awesome. So here I began to, once I saw the number drop, I really became forceful and then see if I can hit it. And I did hit the lower part of the range, which was good to see for the second set. And then this was the third set. So I started off great and then had some speed drop towards the end. So actually that was a very good session. Let's see for January. I think I decreased the weight a little bit. because I wanted to make sure I got above kind of 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. So I started off great for the first set, then slowly decreased. Oh, I think this is 135 actually, so that's good to know. Again, so I did hit pretty much good numbers for this one. The third set, oh, perfect. This was a great session. So if I know myself, hopefully I did increase the weight or actually stayed the same and see if I can go a little faster. Looks like this was a deload. Yeah. Okay, it's a deload. That was an error measurement. Pretty fast, 1.7, 1.76, 1.76 twice. And this looks like the first gym session back after a meet. Did one set, yeah. So again, I resetted everything, and those were kind of my data points for the squat. I think I did one session in February, so this is kind of a couple weeks after the meet. Let's just see how I did. I think I changed the squat variation to a high bar squat. Yeah, I started off pretty light. Let's see how fast it is. Very good. Started off very nice. I think this is 95 pounds. Awesome. Hit. And then I got even faster as the set moved on because I wanted to see if I had more in the tank, which I did. So kind of this showed me that there wasn't any performance breakthrough. When I felt sharp or felt average, the spar speed stayed surprisingly consistent. Effort was a main driver, and I can use it, but overall, I don't want to rely on it. And that's what the data showed me. As long as the intent is present, trying harder kind of doesn't really change the output in a significant way. So that was kind of reassuring. So it kind of just meant for me that my baseline power expression was stable, not fragile. And this is kind of where it got very tricky, though, because even though I had pretty good consistent bar speed, it didn't clearly and cleanly line up with my sprint performance. So here is the reality. Even with consistent bar speed, maybe even slightly improving bar speed with heavier weights, my sprint speed didn't improve meaningfully over the last 2 months. I was expecting a clear boost, but it just didn't happen. At first, that felt disappointing. I thought, then what's the point of all this tracking? But here's the thing I actually learned. Tracking barbell velocity made me aware of my peak speeds in my lift. I can feel when the bar is moving pretty fast and it's not just a guess. That awareness is kind of huge because I can preserve intensity a little bit without overexertion, and I can trust my training a little bit more day by day. So even if my sprint times didn't skyrocket or even improve dramatically, the lifts themselves became that much more purposeful. So why didn't peak bar speed translate into faster sprints? Here are a few reasons why, in my opinion. 1. Faster lifts do not equal full sprint mechanics. Just because I can lift a barbell faster or with heavier weight, that doesn't mean my mechanics are automatically improved and I can handle better angles, have better projection, or I can have better frequency. It doesn't equal all of that, and that was one thing I didn't quite factor in as I ran this experiment with myself. Another reason why is that there are the other limiting factors. My sprint technique is still being reorganized. My elasticity is still being improved. And my day-to-day fatigue is always up and down, depending on kind of my day or my week. So those are another factors. And I would say the third was that I was also working on other goals while I was running this tracking max velocity in my bar speed. I was working on my max velocity mechanics, just working on proper rhythm, proper coordination, and limb switching speeds. And kind of for the indoor 60 meters, that doesn't quite translate as much compared to a little bit of a longer race, like maybe the 100 or 200. But with all that said, Velocity is a guide, but not a magic number. It tells you what's happening in the lift, but sprinting is much more complicated. But even with all that has transpired, this experiment changed the way I train because now I know kind of exactly how a lift should feel when it's fast, and I aim to kind of chase that feeling every session. And that's something I wouldn't have noticed without the data.